What's up to all my Cormac McCarthy fans out there? We are about to hear Cormac McCarthy talk about receiving the MacArthur Fellowship, which is one of the most prestigious fellowships in the world. And once we are done with that, we are going to talk about McCarthy's use of grants and fellowships to help string along his career while he really wasn't selling that many books. He never sold more than 5,000 copies of a book until All the Pretty Horses came out in 1992 when he was 59 years old. But through grants and fellowships, he didn't have to work a day job, for over 30 years. And we're going to be sourcing a lot of this information from Cormac McCarthy's Literary Evolution by Daniel Robert King. And if you guys are interested, there is a ton more Cormac McCarthy content on the way. We are having a big launch party and live streams on Tuesday for Stella Maris. So if you guys are also interested, I have a newsletter down below if you guys would like to sign up. And let's hear from Cormac now about fellowship.
MacArthur Foundation Award. I was really interested in. I was interested in physics, and when I realized that people like Murray were going to be there, I thought, oh, this is. And when I got there, I just looked them up, and they were so kind and generous. I mean, who's this guy? And they just said, yeah, come on, and said, no, sit down. Talk. They were just so open, And they didn't care who I was. But if I was interested in what they were doing, they would sit down and talk to me about it, quite a bit.
But that's okay. So that's worth talking about, your experience with the MacArthur Foundation and the difference between the scientists and their attitude towards the prize and the writers and how they behaved.
Well, the first evening we got there, it was weird because we didn't know what it was. The only thing we knew, and there were only this was the first award. It was only about a dozen of us, and we showed up at the airport, and there was a liveried chauffeur with our name on a card, and took us in a limousine up to this mansion, and carried our bags in, and there we were, and it was just. We don't know what, it was like a TV program or something.
Right.
But I know we got there in the afternoon, and then we all showed up for drinks at 5 o'clock or something.
And who's we? I mean,
the fellows and the people who were running the thing, you know. And MacArthur was dead by then, by a couple of years, but his lawyer was there, Bill somebody.
Right.
And he sort of welcomed us and everything.
Right.
And but there were 2 or 3 writers, poets, and whatever, and they came down, and they were all dressed and drugged and ready for entertainment. And when they saw these people standing around sipping white wine and discussing quantum mechanics, they were kind of it wasn't what they had in mind at all.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so Bill, he welcomed us, and he said, no, I understand that all of you are supposed to be quite bright, but I've had a chance actually to talk to some of you, and you're not as bright as you think you are. And I thought, that's a good start.
But that's where you met Murray for the first time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, and because Murray was on the board, he gave awards to a lot of physicists. Yeah. And they were all there. Yeah.
So that was probably the most direct contact you'd had with that whole world.
Yeah, no, I'd never met any of these people. Right. Just, read their stuff and read about them.
Yeah.
So I have kind of been anti-fellowship on this channel and in my personal life. And my mind, I think, has been changed a little bit because as I've read Cormac McCarthy's Literary Evolution, I've realized that he would have never made it to All the Pretty Horses or the MacArthur Fellowship without grants and fellowships along the way. His first editor, Albert Erskine, was a very famous and a very good editor and would be encouraging McCarthy and helping McCarthy write letters to certain grants and foundations to receive more money. And that's how he basically strung himself along for years. He wasn't really making these big advances or getting anything, but he was getting these $5,000 to $10,000 chunks, every 6 months to a year. And it was very interesting to see how McCarthy would pep up. Alfred would write him and say, you need to get your ass on this right now. You need to write these people, and you need to send me what you're going to send them. And we need to make sure it's perfect. I'm going to get you some recommendations from famous writers, and we'll make sure that you get some money. And it's good that opportunity is there. Because once again, I don't think McCarthy makes it through his career. Maybe he does without some of those things, some of that money. But on the flip side, I have been in creative writing programs, and I have seen the dark side of fellowship money and foundation money. I have personally known 100+ authors who scam fellowships when they haven't even written a book yet, just through some of their poems or published short stories, and they write these big things and get letters of recommendation or know the people on the board, and they make it happen, and they can't imagine a life without these fellowships or without money from the university. And I know that's a very small group of people, MFAs in fiction and poetry, but giving people money when they can't make people care about their writing, I think is a bad idea. And it's led to a saturation of the market with bad books. Books that don't make people care should not be published. And McCarthy, you may think didn't make people care because he wasn't selling that many books for a while. But it was actually, as we see in this text, had a lot to do with his publishing house, Random House, didn't really know how to market or what to do with McCarthy. And as soon as he switched to Alfred Knopf Publishing, if I said that correctly, he sells 200,000 copies in a couple months because they knew how to deliver and market All the Pretty Horses. And when I look at books like Suttree and Outer Dark, The Orchard Keeper and Child of God are a little bit iffy. I could see audiences really enjoying those books. It just the marketing wasn't there. And he made people care. McCarthy for a long time was a king to scholars and to other people, and a king of the literary underground. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on fellowships. Do you think they're good? Are they bad? Let me hear your thoughts, because I've seen both sides, and this is an example where I think that it's worked.